अपने स्टूडेंट्स एंड तलबा से कहूँगा, बहुत बड़ा असेट है और उन्हीं को आगे चल के इस मुल्क की बागडोर संभालना है।
हेलो एक्सीलेंस।
What is excellence?
Excellence isn't something that happens overnight, but it's a gradual process.
Excellence is not a destination, it is a journey, and we pursue excellence every day in our lives.
Here at Integral University, we understand that every person is excellent in their own unique way, and hence we devise programs to bring out their excellence.
Imagine an engineer who can build a wall with his or her own hands. Imagine a person who just graduated and knows how to fix a bicycle or a motorcycle for that matter. Such is the skilling that our university
Excellence does not only means advancement in education but also becoming socially and emotionally mature enough to face the life and facing oneself.
Hello Excellence.
The hands-on training imparted through our agile curriculum and imparted by our faculty with considerable industrial experience in the manufacturing, corporate, agriculture, law, allow our students to start delivering value to their employees and employers immediately.
At Integral University, pursuit of excellence is full of happiness, knowledge, friends, teachers, and yes, last but not the least, dreams.
Excellence is when you gather new knowledge.
Excellence is when you stay focused.
Excellence for me is setting a goal and achieve it.
That is the excellence we are targeting.
Hello Excellence.
Hello Excellence.
Hello Excellence.
Hello Excellence.
Hello Excellence.
Learn,
Grow,
smart, and keep going.
Welcome to the
Integral University Lucknow, inspiring excellence.
Heartiest greetings and good morning to the guest speaker, Professor Syed Mohammad Rizwan, who is from National University of Science and Technology, Sultanate of Oman. Good morning to Professor A.K. Saxena, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Integral University, Lucknow, Dr. Syed Shahid Mazhar, Head Department of Commerce and Business Management, members, and dear participants. I, Dr. Asma Farooq, working as Associate Professor in the Department of Commerce and Business Management, welcome you all on the 12th day of this quality improvement program, which is focused on research methodology and data analysis. We have covered several topics related to research methodology and data analysis, which is a crucial part of all learners and researchers in the process, and we have covered SPSS with many other topics as well. Today, the guest speaker would be focusing on a very important part of thesis writing and paper writing, that is writing conclusions, interpretations, and recommendations. And hope that today's session would add and clarify the nuances and the subtleties of writing, recommendations, conclusion, and interpretation. With these words, I would request Professor A.K. Saxena, sir, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, to welcome our guest.
Thank you, Dr. Asma. A warm good morning to one and all, particularly to Professor Syed Mohammad Rizwan Saab, a renowned professor of mathematics, applied mathematics and science of National University of Oman. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of our Chancellor Syed Wasim Akhtar, Pro-Chancellor Dr. Nadeem Akhtar, our Vice Chancellor Professor Javed Masarrat, Pro-Vice Chancellor Akil Ahmed, and the Dean Doctor Study and Dean Research and Development, on behalf of the Faculty of Commerce and Management and on my personal behalf. See, you have taken such a vital topic, wherein normally a research scholar gets stuck up. That is my conclusion realistic? How to go and make an interpretation of it? Because you have reached to the last point. As a part of opening remark, I must say that once you are at a point of writing conclusion, that is said to be the decisive one, how good you are going to interpret it. And then based on that, because if we see the sequential situation, we have to do the data analysis. Based on data analysis, applying on the basis applying the appropriate quantitative techniques, you reach to the findings. Finding lead you to the conclusions, and conclusion lead you to the recommendations or suggestions, whatever you say. And there are many patterns about it, which people follow. And particularly today, in terms of the references, Professor Rizwan Saab is going to talk about the APA, Harvard, and style of citations. Here again, we get observations from the experts that why you give table and charts together. Either you give the charts or the bar. I would like Professor Rizwan to kindly enlighten on this aspect also, that whether two are essential or one is essential, and what are the intricacies which a research scholar should consider while writing the conclusion and its interpretation. Because to my mind, a research scholar should always keep in his mind his objectives of the study. That is said to be up to that point, he has done the spade work, completed the spade work of his thesis. Based on the objectives, the QT would be decided, of course, formulation of hypothesis and its implementation decides, and then you go on analysis and drawing the conclusion. The conclusion should not be generalized, it should be based scientifically, based on the analysis. Suggestions should not be generalized, they should be specific, data supported. And similarly, recommendations, there's again a situation, some scholars write finding, conclusions, and suggestions. Some write finding, conclusions, suggestions, and recommendations. So all these confusions, I think all research scholars who are our participants of the day, they are going to have a clear picture of the components of the last chapter. That is, Professor Rizwan is going to explain to us. With these words, we are indebted to you. We are obliged to you for having spared your valuable time to come and deliver your talk and lecture on this topic, for which our QIP is in fact in a stage of culmination. We have already reached this 12th day, and only after 2 days we are going to have a validity function. With this opening remark, I will hand over to pass it on the mic to Dr. Asma to kindly invite the professor to deliver the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you once again for your encouraging opening remarks for the session. Let me take the initiative to introduce you all with the speaker we have with us today. He is a very renowned academician, currently working as Head of Applied Mathematics and Science Department at the National University of Science and Technology, that is Sultanate of Oman, and he has around 30 years of teaching and research experience. His main area of research is focused on applied probability, stochastic processes, reliability modeling, and analysis of systems. Sir has more than 100 research papers which are published at national and international journals. He is also working as a chair of the Research and Innovation Committee, that is the College of Engineering at National University of Science and Technology, Oman. He has been also honored as the Best Professor in Statistics Award by the World Education Congress Oman Education Leadership Award in 2019. He is also a distinguished scientist in statistics, for which he was acknowledged in the year 2017. So he has been a seasoned academician and a researcher, and it would be a privilege to have this session with us today. With these words, I request Professor Rizwan sir to start his session today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asma, for a nice introduction. And good morning to everyone. My introduction is, of course, not that very people are there in the field for years together. So small something I could do. Anyway, so I come from the National University of Science and Technology, and it is located in the capital of Oman, that is Muscat. And currently we have 4 colleges: College of Engineering, College of Medicine and Health Sciences, College of Pharmacy, and College of Graduate Studies. So we have students and staff from about 22 nationalities. We have the Department of Applied Mathematics and Science, and catering to the need of mathematics and statistics to all colleges at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. We are running some of the very successful master's program in maintenance management, and where the Department of Mathematics actually contributes a lot. And the papers like reliability and availability assessments are being delivered to those programs from our department. And it is one of the very successful program actually. If I just try, I try to do something here because I really, I was just wondering that the linking this conclusion and recommendation with the entire thesis part, or you can say the dissertation part, or you can say the paper part. So I just tried to do something in that. And before that, because I could see that some of the requirement for understanding the graphical representation and the diagrams which talks about some kind of data understanding, it becomes sometimes difficult for us to look at the raw data and understand something from that. So that part I have just tried to do something. So basically in our department, I very strongly recommend for using R programming language as far as the data analysis is concerned, instead of SPSS. SPSS you can use, no problem, but why to unnecessarily pay for the packages when free packages are available? So once you are able to successfully download the R Studio, it is very simple. Some very simple codes are there. You just enter those codes and you will get any kind of statistical analysis which you want from that. And it is worldwide, it is being used. Sorry. So that is the objective why we always talk about R while, analyzing the data. Anyway, so I would like to share my slide. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Can you see that? Is that clear? Can you see the slide? Yes, please. Someone can confirm me. Hello. Can you see the slide? So I understand that you are able to see the slide. Am I right? Dr. Asma, are you able to see the slide?
Slides. I can see the slides. You can start, sir.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here you see I'll be just talking about the data types, because whenever you're talking about the analysis, you need to understand that what types of data you are dealing with. So in order to link it in a proper way, I just thought that data type also would be important. And then when you talk about the graphical representation, or you are talking about some kind of graphs or something like that, so you should be able to know that what statistical methods we are talking about. And then determination of sample size, that I have dropped right now, because then that will take you to another discussion. So if you see the data type, there are categorical data and numerical data. So when we talk about the categorical data, you're talking about the qualitative, and then numerical data means you're talking about the quantitative data. So you can categorize this categorical data in two ways. That is, when you're talking about the two categories, or when you're talking about more than two categories. So two categories means, just example, for example, you are considering male or female, smokers, non-smokers, and greater than two categories means more than two. For example, blood groups you're talking about. And then for greater than two categories, for more than two categories, you have the type which is nominal data, and there is no obvious ordering in that, in the nominal kind of the data. For example, whether the blood group is A or B or AB or O, anywhere you can start and you can reach to the fourth one. And then you have the ordinal data when you're talking about more than two categories. So ordinal data means where the natural ordering is there. So for example, if I'm talking about the smokers, so am I talking about less than 5 cigarettes per day a person is taking, or 5 to 9 cigarettes per day, or greater than 10 cigarettes per day? So those kind of data are called the ordinal data. And then you have, for the numerical data, you have the discrete data and the continuous data. So mostly we will be, now we will be just talking about this numerical data. and we will just see that in what way we can understand the representation of the data, in the simplest way, and what are the ways in statistics through the graphs and so on and so forth, which normally we use. So when you talk about the methods in statistics, so you have the descriptive methods and you have the inference methods. So descriptive methods we will be taking up. Inference methods will take you to some other, some other area, which we will not be able to cover. And when you see the descriptive methods, so how to describe or summarize the data which you have collected from the population. So that is, of course, most of you must be having this basic background of the statistics, that is the sample which you draw. And you are, in fact, analyzing the sample. You're trying to look at the sample. And based on that particular sample, you try to visualize that what would be the population type. So when you try to describe the data, or you try to summarize the data, the raw data which you have collected, you can do it in table form and then diagrams and graphs. You can find the averages, you can find the deviations, you can find the kurtosis, the skewness, correlation coefficient, regression analysis. So these are these things which you summarize, from the which you summarize. I mean, when you summarize the data, these things will be able to tell you the exact, what is actually the status which you have collected. I mean how the data look like, and how it is you can say, what is the central tendency, or what is the standard deviation, or what is the kurtosis, the skewness. So this will tell you the entire distribution of the data, which is very important for us. And what actually we do, we just try to understand that how the data looks like. So when we talk about the descriptive statistics, so the first and the foremost thing is to prepare a frequency distribution. Once you have collected the data, you need to put it in the frequency distribution form. And when you talk about the frequency distribution, you can put it in the form of the table, which is categorized as a single variable, or you can say two variable cross tabulation table. So it depends on the type of the data, that what kind of actually data you are having. Is it a single variable, or it has got some other multiple variables? So when you represent the data in the pictorial form, or you can say the graphical form, there are different ways of doing that, depending again on the type of the data. So you can draw the bar graph, you can draw the pie graph, you can get the scatter chart, you can have the box plots, you can have the line graph, you can have the stem and leaf plot. So these are some of the graphical pictorial representation of the data which you get, and once you put it in the frequency form, and based on that you can just draw these things. So in just one clicks you can get from RStudio. If just you have the RStudio, there are some fixed codes and commands, and it is freely available. You can download and you can try that. So the first one is about the table form, or you can say the simple bar chart. So here you are seeing the different categories. For example, we have a medical college and we get nice data from the medical college. So here you are seeing, these are the age group. And then here you have a percentage, and here you have a cumulative percent. So just this is an example. You can just plot this graph, and you will be able to know that which particular age group is having more percentage. So this is just one variable. You can have any variable, or so this is a particular disease we are talking about. So how many people are suffering from a particular disease? So 9% under this group, 21% under this group, 45% under this group, 19% under this group, and then so on and so forth. So just a simple plot it is, and then it will be able to tell you what is the distribution across. If you see here, it is normally distributed. So initially also the percentages, the number of people are less, and here also number of people are less. And here in the middle group, you see 46 to 55, it is more. So it's giving a normal trend. So it gives a very good indication that how the distribution is of that particular population. And the same thing you can have in the form of the, sometimes we get in multiple or cluster form. So we can have then cluster bar chart. So for that, there are now see two age in years, and here you have the blood pressure. So this is the age in year. You are seeing less than 30, 30 to 50, or greater than 50. And here diastolic blood pressure is less than 80, 80 to 90, greater than 90. And then you have here different, people falling in this category. So for example, the blood pressure less than 80 for the people who are less than 30, 10. And then after that, 30 to 50, there are seven people, and then greater than 50, only 1%. So if you just convert it in terms of percentage, you will get 50%, 25%, and 8.3%. So easily you can just have a look and say that 50% of the people for this age group, having this diastolic blood pressure less than 80. In the same way, for 80 to 90 blood pressure category, you found that 30 to 50 age group people are more in this category. That is 60.7%. And in the same way, for greater than 90 blood pressure, so if you see, the older people are showing this. So what I'm just trying to share here, that always it is possible to treat one variable as dependent and other as independent. So here you can say diastolic BP, blood pressure, may be taken as dependent on age, right? So the column percentages here, you see, if you see here, the column percentages, could give an idea about the type of association between the variables. So if you see here, you can easily understand that for the youngest age group, that is less than 30, is corresponding to the blood pressure less than 80. So it means that this particular group is, of course, youngest, and the blood pressure is less than 80. In the same way, you can see here, different age categories here. So this very clearly shows the association between the age and the blood pressure. So you can see, if you just try to plot this in this kind of multiple or cluster bar chart, you can see here the increase in age. You see, as you are increasing here in age, you see there appears to be an increase in the blood pressure, because here you see increase in age means you have the blood pressure greater than 90 for 6 people. So for 6 people, right? And in the same way here, you can say, if the age group is less, that is less than 30, the number of people having blood pressure greater than 90 is less, whereas the blood pressure less than 80 are 10. So you can see the clusters you are having here in 3 different categories. So the plus point here, you can have a look on the graph, and you can easily understand that in which particular age group, what are the, what is the range of the blood pressure which people are actually suffering with. So less than 30 years, all clusters are here. Between 30 to 50, all clusters are here. And greater than 50, all the three categories of the blood pressures are here. So this one is less than 80, this one is 80 to 90, this one is greater than 90. So we can easily understand for that with the increase in age, there is an increase in the blood pressures as well. So this is the plus point, so you can always treat one variable as dependent and on the other. So here I have taken blood pressure may be taken as dependent on the age. So this is the you can say the benefit of having charts in place to just understand the situation just by directly having a look on the graphs. And then you have histogram. So again, here also you see the purpose is to graphically summarize the distribution of a univariate data set. So here also you see HDL, that is cholesterol level, is given here in different categories for different categories, and number of people. For the 500 people, we could partition and we could find the frequencies for 500 people under these categories. And here, you calculated the percentage. So here, it will give you an idea about the asymmetry of the distribution, whether the distribution which you are having here, whether it is symmetric distribution or there is some kind of asymmetry, and in which particular category the more number of people are falling. So here, if you just plot this distribution here you can take on x-axis this HDL and on y-axis the number of people falling in different categories. And you just, the rougher sketch, if you just draw, which probably when you use the software, it is very easy, just in one click you will get this. So easily you can understand that the maximum number of persons having HDL, here you are seeing this bar, the maximum number of, people are falling in this category, and that is 0.75 to 1 HDL, the people who have. So this is the maximum number, in this category. And of course, when you see the tail here, the longer tail here, this particular part, that can tell you that there are some cases with higher HDL levels also. So this category is for 2 to 2.5 HDL levels. So easily you can see here, that what kind of asymmetry is there in the distribution. So this is another way of actually understanding the data written in the frequency distribution form. So, and then you have the pie graph. The pie graph is the simplest one. So this is another way of, depicting the group of a variable divided into 360° at the center into proportions or percentages of the group. So here you have distribution birth weights of 50 babies born in our hospital during April 2004. So weights in kgs of the babies and number of babies falling in those different categories. So what you do here is you just find the degree, out of 360, that what is the degree which falls in this category. So this number divided by total multiplied by 360, because you are going to put it in the form of a circle, and circle has 360°. So 50°, 122°, 144°, and 43°. When you plot that, you get this kind of figure, which easily can tell you that which particular category. Just by having a look on this graph, you can see that the percentage of babies between 3 to 4 kgs of weight is more, and then 4 to 5 kgs of weight is less. So the main thing here is once you have the pictorial representation, definitely in order to have a pictorial representation, you need to put the raw data in a proper form, I mean in the tabular form. So always pictorial representation is considered to be a very good option, for the cases where you just want to highlight that what is the actual status, I mean how the data looks like, in which particular category it is more, or where you need to focus more. So the answer in the nutshell is that whenever you interpret or whenever you represent the data, always it is better. It's a good option to show it graphically, and which is very easily understood by the people. So another kind of graph is a scatter chart actually. So this displays a relationship between age. This is another one more example where you have age in years of the people and their blood pressures you have here. So now if you just plot it in this very simple form, that is a scatter chart, that will tell you the trend that with the increase, you see age in years, the increase in age, the blood pressure also is getting raised, so you see here. So this trend is a linear trend and which goes on increasing. So this is another way of expressing the relationship between the two variables this way. And then another type of representation is the line graph. Normally this line graph we use when we want to compare the trend of data over a period of time. For example, more than two sets of data. So here you have one set of data where you have the years, and then you have the number of HIV cases in those years. So when you plot that, so you will get this kind of representation. So this is very good actually. This is considered to be a good way of comparing the trend. So let us say that if the same HIV cases you want to see that how the HIV cases are getting increased in 2 different countries or 3 different countries. So you can have these kind of lines by plotting this simple line graph for the ordinal data where natural ordering is there. Why natural ordering? Because you are having years goes on increasing. So it's a natural ordering. So like that you can have for different countries and you can compare that. You can see that in what way, in which particular year the cases are getting raised in different countries. So this is another way of interpreting the data. So as I mentioned, when you have an opportunity to express your data in terms of the graphs, it is always a good choice and better option. Another thing which is the most important and very important, rather, most of the people are using that, and that is the next one is the box plot. So box plot we call as whisker plots also sometimes. So what is this actually box plot? So whenever your data are not following the normal distribution, so more skewed, or you don't have the normal pattern, normal trend. So in that case, otherwise also box plot tells so many things about the data. And what happens that we can always have something shown in just one figure form where you can compare the different categories, everything you can see on just one representation. Just it will tell you that what is the status and what actually we are trying to understand here, in fact. So this is a way to summarize more than one group. For example, here you are seeing a group of 116 people who are less than 25 years, what is their triglyceride level. In the same way, another group, which is 25 to 39 years, 160 people are there, and then what is how it looks like. In the same way for 40 to 55, and then 55 and more. So 84 people are there, and then 138 people are here. So what actually it is, and how it will help you in understanding the pattern, or you can say in understanding the understanding the summarization. So you can say that this is a way of summarizing more than one group next to each other. Just you see, this is one group, this is another group, this is third group, fourth group. So just next to each other, you can easily understand the situation, or you can say the trend in the data set. You can understand that. Now, what is this actually box plot? So in fact, this box plot is based on the 5-number summary. So you have a minimum number. You have a minimum number here. Any one you can just consider. You have a minimum number here. And you have the first quartile, that is Q1. First quartile means 25 percentile. You can say that way. Okay. And third quartile means 75 percentile. And this one is the median, which divides the data in two parts. So it works on the 5-number summary. So the minimum is there. This is your minimum. This is the first quartile. This is the median, that is Q2 sometimes we call. And Q3 is there. And this is your maximum. So outside this, if any data fall, we call that as whisker. And sometimes we have the extreme values also, which looks like very absurd. For example, some trend is there, 2, 4, 5, 7, 10, 11, 12, and some value you are seeing, for example, 180 or 120, which is completely out of the range of the normal population. So those kind of numbers, which we call as extremes, or you can say the outliers, those kind of numbers are outliers, or you can say the extremes, we sometimes exclude from the data analysis, because it will lead you to some kind of value which is much away from the realistic value. So this is how we get the box plots. And actually because box plot is something which is very important, and normally you will find this box plots very useful in your researchers, the people who are dealing with the social science research especially, or where you are dealing with more and more data. So what is there actually in the box plot? How do we get this box plot? And what is the concept inside that? So let us see this example, So this is, as I mentioned, that the box plot is based on the 5-number summary, minimum value, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum, if you can see here, minimum and maximum, quartile 1, quartile 2, and quartile 3. So let us say that you have a data set of this type, 3, 7, 8, 5, 12, 14, 21, 13, and 18. This is the data set. So arrange this data set in increasing order. So you have arranged this data set in increasing order, and you have 3, 5, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 18, 21 in the increasing order. For keep striking off the data, just keep striking off this one and this one, then this one and this one from the left side and other from the right side. Keep striking, then you will reach to this number 12. So it is very clear that this 12 indicates the median of this set of data. So we don't have to bother about really this median, and median is now clear, This is the median. So this value is now known to you, this median. So sometimes what happens when you keep striking off, then you get two values in between. You land up with the two values. So in that case, just take the average of those two values. So you, whatever number you are getting, that becomes the median. So anyway, so this is your lower half from this median, and this is your upper half from this median. So when I consider these four numbers, again, these four numbers, if you strike off these two numbers, again, you try to find the median here. So two numbers you are getting here. So 5 plus 7 divided by 2, that is an average which I mentioned before, you get 6. So this Q1, that is the quartile 1, is 6 for these values. In the same way, when you do the same process here for 13, 14, 18, and 21, so for finding the third quartile, these are the four data. So again, you would strike from first and the last one, the center to, you take the average here and you get 16, so that is your Q3. So when you plot this, or when the software plots this, when you use any software, so that will give you this kind of representation for this particular data set in terms of the box plot. So you have here 0 to 24, and then this is your minimum value. Minimum value you are seeing here 3. This is your minimum value 3, and then you have the maximum value. Maximum value here is 21. Here you have 21. This is the maximum value. So the minimum and maximum values are fixed. You can see that. And then Q1, that is quartile 1 from this part which you found, is 6, so that you have plotted here. And then the median before itself you found in the beginning itself, that is 12. So this is your 12. And then here you have 16, that is your quartile 3, that is 16. So you have plotted everything which you have at hand. That is 12, then the minimum value, and then the maximum value, and then the quartile 1, and then the quartile 3. So this is the representation of the box plot of this set of data. So you can have different sets, and you can write the conclusion based on the different sets, that how it looks like. So if I just take one, why I'm putting a little more focus on this, because many people who are not basically statisticians, they have doubt in box plots, and they keep asking questions on the box plots. That's why and this is of course very important. All of the graphs are very simple to plot, so that's not an issue. So here I have just taken one example. So this is an example. For example, this test scores out of 25 points for some class. You have conducted 2 tests of this particular class. Test 1 and the performance you are seeing here, which you plotted, right? And test 2, that is the performance here. So the student scored different marks out of 25. And you found that the minimum marks here, in the test 1, the minimum marks scored 6 and the maximum marks 16, and the median is 12. And this is, minimum marks here 3, and this is your maximum marks. This is your quartile 1, this is your median, and this is your quartile 3. In the same way, the minimum marks for test 2, again 3, and the maximum marks for this test, are 21. So when you get this plot for 2 tests of 25 of some number of students, let us say that, and out of 25. So these are the scores which you are writing here. In test 1, people scored like this. In test 2, people scored like that. And if you see here, this test 1 and test 2, what can you understand from this? What outcome you will take, once you have these 2 plots in place? You can have number of plots, of course. So this plot, if you see, shows that the lower score here, you see the lower score is 3 in both the tests. That is 3. And the highest score is 21. In both the tests, the lower score, highest score, and this one is your Q3. This one is your Q3, that is 16, Q3. All are same. And here also you see 12. So you can say the lower score in both the test and the highest score in the both the test and the Q3 in both the exam is, so you can say the performance in both of these exams are quite similar. But where is the change then? What can you take out as a statistician from this? So you will say this is your Q1 for the first test. This Q1 has moved from 6 to 9. You see, this is your 9. So this Q1 has moved from 6 to 9. What does it indicate? This indicates that there was an overall improvement in test 2, where the Q1 has moved from 6 to 9. So I can say in test 1, almost 75% of the students scored above 6. So because these all constitute 75% of the students. So in test 1, almost 75% of the students, this is rest 25, so I'm not talking about that. This 75% of the students, they scored above 6, whereas in test 2, almost the same 75% of the students, they scored at 9 or above. Here 6 and above, here 9 or above. So you can easily understand and compare that which particular test students did well, and then there are further things to analyze, that why they did well and why not they have done well. Those are the other analysis part, and that is with the expert to see that how he or she is going to take it further. So this is another example. You see, you have different age groups. It is so useful representation. Less than 20 males representation for 65 males and representation for 51 females. In the same way, between 25 to 39, representation of 75 males and then 87 females. In the same way, 40 to 55, you see males and then females. And then in the same way, greater than 55, this is male and then female. Easily you can see that, and these are the number of males and females. So this is one group, right? This is another group, this is another group, this is another group. Easily you can see here, you see, what is the status between the group less than 25 years and greater than 55 years. So here you are seeing the triglyceride level is almost same, but it is more than this, of course. So these are the things which you can very easily conclude when you have such graphs in place. And then you have, because going to the stem and leaf chart, before going to understand that, we need to understand certain measures of location. And so mean, median, mode, this you all must be knowing. So it depends that what kind of measure of central location you want to use, depending on the type of the data. So this is the mean, which is most commonly used, and median. So it divides the distribution into equal parts. So normally this doesn't get affected by the extreme values. So it is sometimes preferred in a specific kind of data. Mode means the maximum number of maximum number of frequency, you can say. So very frequently appearing here is 81, 81, 81. So it is the mode of this distribution. And this also depends that what kind of data you have in place. So the usage of mean, median, or mode for finding the measure of central location depends on the type of the data. So here, quite possible that you have more than one mode also. Sometimes you may have 3 values, 81, 81, 81, and then sometimes you have 81, 81, 81, and then 84, 84, 84. So 2 modes. So we call that. It is quite possible that you have 2 modes. So it is bimodal then in that case, or multimodal. It depends if you have more than 2. So this all depends that what exactly we are going to do and how we are going to use these measure of central locations. In the same way, you have measure of variations. So measure of variations or dispersion. So mostly we use the standard deviation and the coefficient of variation. The standard deviation is considered as absolute measure, and coefficient of variation is considered as relative measure. Hope you all know about the absolute measure and relative measure. So when we talk about the absolute measure of dispersion, so we normally have the same units in which the original data, or you can say the original, of course, original data is presented. So normally, this standard deviation, for example, 2 series, you calculate the standard deviation, and you say that you are going to compare, so it doesn't actually work well. So we discourage that. So because this measure, for comparison purpose, if you want to use, you cannot do that unless you have the similar units for both the sets of data. So one is given in centimeter, other is given in kg. It doesn't work then. So that is why we normally prefer when we try to compare the series or the sets of data, using coefficient of variation, because coefficient of variation is just an absolute dispersion, or you can say it doesn't have the units. It is a pure number, isn't it? So because it's a number, so you can use this. So mostly we talk about the standard deviation, and we talk about the coefficient of variation, which is commonly used. So then you have measure of dispersions, range, interquartile range, variance, standard deviation, and coefficient of variation. So normally, whenever we want to find the variation within a given set of data, so of course not for comparing the 2 series. When you talk about the comparison of the 2 series, then coefficient of variation, works well, because it has no units. It's a unitless, but it has got the unit, standard deviation. So standard deviation is preferred than variance. The reason is simple, because standard deviation brings you back in the same unit, because variance normally you get when you square that. So if you take the under root, it again comes back to the same degree 1. So that is the reason the standard deviation is normally it retains the original unit, and that's the reason we mostly use the standard deviation instead of variance when we talk about the variability within the set of data. So the difference and the example between these two is very simple. How it works and why it is advisable to use the coefficient of variation. So you can understand through these 2 examples. So this is one sample where you have got the mean height, the standard deviation, and coefficient of variation. Sample 2 where you have height, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, and and this is another example there. So here you see the units are same, but still, when you are comparing the sample, you see here the standard deviation is 10, whereas here it is 12. But if you see here you see in sample 1, it has more variation than sample 2, isn't it? So if you use this one, so it is little misleading. So that is why coefficient of variation works well when we compare the 2 samples. In the same way, when units are different, Again, when you find the coefficient of variation, there's a specific formula for coefficient of variation. You can use that and you will get 16.71 and then 8%. So easily you can say that variations in weight is more than the height, isn't it? So it is a unitless quantity. That's why it works well. So in this case also, you see the standard deviation is less, whereas the coefficient of variation is more. So you cannot say that that it is more consistent or less consistent based on the standard deviation. You can talk about the coefficient of variation to write some kind of comparison. Anyway, so the last one is your stem and leaf plot. Now, why I discuss this range, mean, standard deviation, variance, all those kind of things, you have seen, because when you talk about the stem and leaf plot, it is very useful again. So it is similar to the histogram, you can say. It's like histogram, but of course more information we get regarding the sample. So stem and leaf plot actually is normally used when you have large data. So data is arranged, in different place values form. You have a stem and you have a leaf. A stem talks about, if you are talking about the 2-digit number, a stem talks about the tens place number, and leaf talks about the units place number. And you can have 3-digit also, you can have a single digit also. So based on that, you can define your stem and you can define your leaf. And it is very helpful, to get an understanding of range, that what is the range, what is the mean, what is the median, and a mode. So it is very easy to just have a look. Just by having a glance on the table, you will be able to understand the actual status of the data. Anyway, so this is an example. For example, you have conducted a test for 22 students out of 100, and these are the scores. These scores could be in a random order as well. So I have arranged these scores in the increasing order, chronological order. So 50, 50, 52, 58. So these are the scores by 22 students out of 100 in a particular test. So how do we form stem? So what you are seeing here on the first digit, you see all tens place. So 50 means 0 is at units place and 5 is at tens place. So 5 is at tens place, 5 is at 10 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 place. These are the 5 numbers which have got 5 at the tens place. So I have started, you can start from here also. I have started from here in the decreasing order. So 5 I have written here, and these numbers in the increasing order 0, 0, 2, 8, 8 I have written here. So 5 at the tens place in the stem category, and then leaf will be all rest of the numbers at the units place. So 0 is there, 0 is there, 2 is there, 8 is there, 8 is there, which are at units place. This I have written like that. In the same way, for numbers having, that is 60s, you can say in 60s. So now the tens place 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So 6 I have written at the tens place, and all right numbers 1, then 4, then 4, then 7, and then 8, which are at the units place in this I have written here 1, 4, 4, 4, 7, 8. In the same way for 7 I have done for these two numbers. 7 is at tens place, so I have written in the category of stem, and then leaf are here 2, 4, 6, 8, 8, 9. In the same way for 8, in the same way for 8 you can do 3 and 5. The same way for 9 you can do. So there are these 4 numbers, 2, so 9, 9, 9, 9 at the stems place, that is tens place, I have put in the stem, and then 2, 2, 9, 6, 2, 2, 6 and 8 I have written here, leaf. So the stem shows the tens column, and the leaf shows the units digit, all the units digit here. So at a glance, if you have a look on this particular table, you can see that 4 students got marks in 90s. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4. Just having a look here, you can say 4 students scored in 90s, and of course some 5 students they scored in 50s, but none of the students scored less than 50, because you are not having anything here. So when you count the total number of leaves here, you know how many students took the test. So normally this is just an example I have taken. Normally this is used for the large amount of data, and you can easily see that which category is more. So like here you see the most of the students scored in 70s. So just by having a look here, you can just you can conclude that what is the status of students in 70s, and then in 80s only 2 students are there. So this is the benefit here, for this stem and leaf representation of graphs. So you can have the similar representation for comparison also. This is also very helpful in comparison. So when, for example, 2 teams, they scored in a particular test. So these are the scores, for example, 30, 33, 37, 39, 42, 48, 51, 53, 57, and then 59 for team A. Same thing for team B, you have 32, 32, then 43, 45. So when on the left side, you can put the scores of the team A, the leaves of the team A, and on the right side, you can put the leaf of the, the units number, units place number in the leaf of team B. So here the stems, of course, in both the categories, you can see what are the stems. So stems means or number in 30s or in 40s or in 50s or in 60s, whatever it is. So you can put from both the series, you can check that, and you put 3, 4, 5. For team A, then 30, then 3, and then 0. Then 33, then 3 and 3. Then 37, then 3 and 7. Then 39, then 3 and 9. And then 42, and then 48. So you can represent here. On the right side, you can talk about team B. So easily you see, if you see here, you can compare the 2 teams' performance, and you can say that both the teams, they got the tie, at tie of 59 here also team A scored, and here also team B scored. So easily you can understand that. You can find the mean, median, mode just by having a look. Just keep striking off the terms from the end, from both way. You will be able to know what is the median, and you can understand that what is the, you can understand many things, from this. So which normally we want to know that what is the mean value, what is the median value. Sometimes we are interested in the mode value, whether it is single mode or it is bimodal or it is multimodal distributions. All those things you can see from here. So a stem could be, of course, you can draw this diagram for 1-digit numbers. In that case, in that case, instead of this tens place number, you can take as 0. And for 3-digit number, you can take it as the 2 numbers. For example, if you want to represent a 1-digit number, you can take 0 and then write that digit. So 0 will come in the stems place, and then the digit will come here. So same thing for 3-digit number. Instead of defining it here tens place, you can define 12 here. For example, 100, 112, 113, 114. So you can take here 10, and then 12, and then 13. And the units place you can write in the same way like you are writing here in 2-digit case, in the categories of leaf. So it is simple for us to understand something regarding the data if we know how to plot the graphs. So this is the first part, because statistics is actually huge. In fact, it's very difficult to talk many things. So just normal representation of these things, because many people who are doing research, who are writing papers, who are writing dissertations, any academic detailing, or so these things you can vary. I mean, quite often these representations are used. So as far as its plotting is concerned, as I mentioned, you people are using SPSS. We promote R because it's free, first of all, and there is no restriction on any number of usage. Just download and start using. So worldwide people are using that, so we are also using that. So R, you can download the R Studio. It's free, and just there are some couple of commands, codes are there, couple of codes are there. Just put those codes and you insert the data. Watch one video clip or YouTube clip that how to find the descriptive statistics or graphical representation using R. So you will find multiple presentations, clips are there. Just watch that, download this, and download procedure also is there. Just download that, watch those clips. In just, I think, not more than 1 hour of time, you'll be able to understand that how to use that R, for plotting these kind of descriptive, which are descriptive statistics, but of course the graphical representation of the data sets, and inferential statistics also, of course. Once you are done with that descriptive part, then inference is to be taken out for the population, because this is what you are doing is for the sample, and something which you are going to do for the population. I mean, so for that you need to go for inferential statistics. So there also you have different codes and different YouTube clips are there, so there is no problem at all. So you don't have to go for SPSS, these days. Anyway, so now the next part is about your dissertation, and which possibly everyone. Everyone is interested. So what I did actually, I spoke on certain things which we keep talking to our students for master's dissertation and for PhD thesis and writing the paper. So the first very important thing to start with, because we talk about something which is a very important research ethic, actually. So we all know about this, and we keep talking about this extensively everywhere. Till date, we are not able to come out of it. Even now also we are working with our students, right, that how to avoid plagiarism. It is, I think, a very dangerous thing when it comes to that. And what it means to all of us, and how to avoid that. So how you come out of this plagiarism part. So first of all, what is this plagiarism? Because I guess that the audience which I have are the beginners also in research. They must be starting research as well. Now that is their first step when they are entering into research. So what do you mean by this, and how to avoid that? So the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own, very, very dangerous thing. We should not at all even think of doing that. Right? So how will you avoid that? You just reference. You don't have to do anything big. Once someone told you one story and you listened to that story very carefully, that story you found very interesting. Now you are going to tell that story to some other person. While narrating that story, you tell that person, this particular story, so and so person has told me, and I liked it. That's why I'm sharing with you. Or I liked it. Now I want to work further from this particular story. Now on. So these are the only things which you have to do, which is not a big deal. You are free to refer any amount of material in the research world. So this is what we have to be little careful. And there are much material explanations, everything is available here. You can just have a look to get more idea on that. So why do we do referencing? Now the thing starts from that, plagiarism. Okay, so to avoid plagiarism, to demonstrate the range of sources consulted in your research, that's it. And from there onwards, to refine something, to go ahead something, to go ahead from there on. So other researchers are also working. So they can easily find the sources of your information. That's what we say. Why do we do reference? Avoids plagiarism. We don't want to do that. Demonstrate the range of sources consulted in your research. Allows you to find, or you can say to refine the sources of your information. Allows someone else also find the sources of your information. How will you see? How you're going to avoid that? Just by taking the proper referencing. And why we do that? These are the reasons why we do that, right? So to start with, actually, because I didn't want to just talk only about one part. I just wanted to just align it with the introduction. So I'll not take much time here. So writing an introduction. Now, what is the goal? What is the goal of an introduction? So it is very simple. It is very simple. You are explaining what, why, and how. Whether it is your research, dissertation, or it is your research paper. So begin by presenting what your paper is about. Introduce both the topic and any key ideas you will use to build up your arguments. And then the tricky part is convince the reader that your research represents a novel and important contribution. Convince your researcher, readers, convince the researchers, those who are or readers, right? And then you can refer the gaps or contradictions that you have noticed in the existing research, right? And of course, how you are going to make your work unique. So also describe the practical or theoretical importance of your arguments, most important thing. And this is also where you can present your thesis a statement, one or two statements, not very long story, right? And then finally, an introduction usually ends with some brief summary of what each section or paragraph after this point will be all about. So that is why this introduction is very, very important. Whether it is a paper or your different chapters in the thesis or your entire thesis, dissertation, which you call it. So the thing is that writing the body. So the body of your paper, just think this way, the body of your paper makes the majority of the text and is the most flexible part in terms of structure, right? So generally, you will have several paragraphs, several sections, and each covering a specific idea. So with these ideas connecting with each other to form your overall argument. So that's what you're going to put it here. Okay, and also all your central arguments and the evidence supporting them are normally presented in the body, and everything here should in some way support, remember that, should in some way support your thesis statement. You should never be going out of that. Then, of course, when you are talking about the paragraphs here, then there should be paragraph structure. So what would be the structure of the paragraph? Follow your outline, right? So first try to follow the outline you prepared before starting. And then you can, of course, be a little free, or you can say to adopt, to adopt. If your ideas change as you write, sometimes you have some perception, and when you keep writing, some more perception keeps cropping in. So those kind of things, you just, when something good pops in, you just try to include that also, but not much away from that. And then second thing is, keep your thesis statement in mind. Is everything you are writing about relevant, whatever you are writing about here, is that relevant, to the argument you are trying to make? Or have you gone off track? So if you are going off track, you should be able to know whether things you are piling up together, you are writing in line with what your thesis statement talks about. That you have to keep in mind. And the third thing is, make use of topic statements. So using these topic statements, allows the reader to quickly understand the direction of your argument in each paragraph, in which direction you are taking, in which direction you're talking about. And the fourth and the most important thing is, use effective transitions. Very important thing it is. Effective transitions, So within and between the paragraph, effective transition should be there. And this signals the relationship, between different sentences and paragraph. So the transition should be smooth. Not that in one paragraph you are talking something, in the other paragraph all of a sudden something else comes up to your mind and that you are putting it across. Don't do that. So there are certain things which you can keep in mind here. And then, of course, when you talk about the conclusion, so as I mentioned, in the conclusion, in fact, you are summarizing the point you are making, and gives a sense of finality, right? This is what actually you do in conclusion. So it does not present the new argument. You should not give new argument here or new evidence. The main body contains your whole argument there inside, so you don't have to really worry about that, right? The conclusion simply reflects on what came before. You don't have to repeat it here again, right? I've just given one very basic and simple example between these things, that what you understand by the conclusion and what you understand by the recommendation. And then, of course, when you go a little ahead, so remember that no sources should be cited here. That all you have done in the main body literature review, right? So this is the way you can just summarize your arguments, the central point, and you can, of course, make some suggestions for further research. So what additional idea occurred to you during your research which did not fit the scope of this paper? Sometimes you while writing that, you just you come across certain things of that type, so that you can do. So, and then just one example, because this is a very, just a general kind of an explanation. So what you can do here, you can understand it through example. So let us say that there are 3 companies who utilized an open office space, and they experienced increase in productivity. So you see there are 3 companies, and then those companies, they just talked about they applied some kind of open office layout, and then they analyzed the increase in the productivity, some number 5, 6, 15 they found. So after discussing these companies' productivity figure, you analyze analyzed that the average increase of these 3 numbers, 5, 6, and 15, something 8.5, on an average, this was an increase after adopting this particular office layout kind of a situation. So you can say that this is what you have done. It's some data you have, and then some kind of what is that called? Some kind of office layout type of analysis, utilized. They just wanted to bring this change into their working, and then you found that you have analyzed, and then you found this, and then 8.6 is an average increase, and then individual company productivity increases range from 5 to 15. So this involves a complete analysis, right? Complete analysis to come to this conclusion. So what will be your conclusion under this situation when you have 3 companies, and then some kind of office layout was there, and then some kind of productivity increase you found through their profitability, and then you got this particular outcome out of your analysis. So what should be your conclusion for this kind of analysis? So you can just say that, as was previously discussed, several companies experienced increase in productivity ranging from 5 to 15, with an average increase of 8.6 by using an open office space layout. And then these increase would seem to indicate that there is a potential for our company also, to realize an increase in productivity of about, because those company which you analyzed, they increased to 8.6. Now you are talking about some kind of analysis where you are talking about an option of getting this productivity increase to 9 if you apply that open office layout system in your company. So the concluding statement does not talk anything other than just what you have seen in the outcome based on the analysis. Whereas here you see you're talking about all kinds of companies and then their analysis. And then ultimately from that, you are just writing this particular statement would be enough for you to tell that what actually you conclude from the entire analysis. And then you can talk about the recommendation also. So the recommendation then, is nothing but what now or what next you're going to talk about. So how to implement, or the next step to the company should take. In the previous example, if you see, so it is recommended that our company should implement an office space for its employees. In order to successfully implement an office space layout, open office layout, all department managers should be interviewed about implementation statements. So this is a recommendation, this is a recommendation. So this recommendation does not have the conclusion, and this recommendation does not have what you have done in the analysis part, this part, right? So this is a recommendation that you also need to do, your company also can do that. So there is a very clear distinction between the three words, that is summary, conclusion, and recommendation. So in the nutshell, if I want to repeat what I have explained you through this example. So in the nutshell, the summary is developed from the data you discussed. The conclusion are drawn from the main facts repeated in the summary, and the recommendations are developed from the conclusions and answers the problem statement. So very clear distinction is there between the summary, conclusion, and recommendation. Anywhere if you are putting overlapping, then that's an issue. So that you have to fix, and you have to very clearly partition these things. Now coming to the next part about the referencing styles. So there are 21 referencing styles are there. Everyone is worried about the referencing styles when you write the paper, or the journal people, or the presentation people. They all are talking about the referencing style. And it depends that what referencing styles your university is using, or a particular journal is adopting, or a particular university is having their some universities, they have their own referencing style. Even if they follow the Harvard referencing, still they talk about their own referencing styles. Like we do have our Harvard referencing, but we have our National University referencing style where little changes and modifications are there. So anyway, so there are 21 referencing styles practiced across the globe, and to produce all kind of academic writing. So APA style, that is American Psychological Association, the most common citation style used in most of the social sciences and natural sciences journals and documents. And then you have Harvard style, which is again very common. And this Harvard style is also known as the parenthetical referencing. So in this style, the partial citations are enclosed within the parenthesis and incorporated in the sentences, either before or after it. I've given some examples on that. And then you have MLS style, that is Model Language Association. So possibly you people encourage APA and Harvard style. That's fine. I mean, that's very good. So references actually you have at the end. So what actually you do there? Cite your sources. So when you quote or paraphrase sources, you need to include citations. So as I mentioned, so these are the links which you can easily see, and you can get some more idea on that. So when you quote or paraphrase the sources, you need to include citations. And there are online citation generators. Okay, this is just for your information. To all those newcomers in research, there are online citation generators, which allow you to automatically generate citations in the correct format and save your reference list. Automatically, it will be saved in the reference list. Okay, so when you cite that, and then so in the reference list as you go, it will keep on adding to the reference list. So many online links are available for that. So, and then you have APA. When I say, as I mentioned, APA is a writing style, and and format for academic document for all academic documents, such as all scholarly journal articles or books. So while writing the research paper, actually, you need to include the citations in the text. So when you write that in the text, it is called as in-text citation. So such notations which you involve there, that is called in-text citations. And then APA format, actually, this APA format, that is American Psychological Association. So that is titled as the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. This APA format dictates that how to write that, right? So when citing in APA format in the text of your paper or dissertation or chapter, that is your literature review chapter, right? So normally what we do, we use the author's name followed by the date of publication. So this APA format that dictates that, how to write that. And you cannot change that. I mean, it has to be in that way. So APA style uses author date reference citation system. and you have the reference list, which is normally put in the alphabetical order. So when you talk about the narrative citations, so narrative citations means this name will come in this way, and then year, and this is what you are trying to explain, what this person has done in 2016. So this scientist name, these are the two scientists, and this is the year. Describe a fear among the public that the findings of science are not actually real, and then this particular would go at the end in the reference list. So this is in text what you have done. You can also do that in parenthetical form. So parenthetical form means this is now you are writing about that work until here, and then you are giving the name in the bracket. So in the end, you have the list, which is called as the reference list. So in that list, you keep getting this order when you follow any online software to do that. So here you will be writing the author name, year, title, and then the source of cited work in alphabetical order. You are going to give that. So there are different referencing styles. It depends that it is you're talking about the journal article or edited book chapter or something conference or something like that. So, but broadly speaking, always follow the same pattern as author, date, title, and source. So this is the one example. Here you have the author name. Here you have, and all this comma, these things, what you are seeing here, comma, full stop, this will work in the same way. You cannot change that. So, and this is the title, and this is the volume, and then this is the issue, and then the page numbers, and this is the DOI, digital object identifier. These days, or papers, most of the good journals, they are giving this. So that also you can add. Harvard referencing, so there is a little difference between the two. So these are the two referencing styles very commonly used. So Harvard referencing, also called as the parenthetical referencing. So here you see author date means in parenthesis we write like this, whereas in the previous case, if you see, we have written like this. So you are seeing something a little different here when you write here the comma and then page number. So if the entire work you are citing, instead of some pages you're typing entire book, then you can write this way, Smith and then year, and that's it. That is understood that entire work has been cited. So you have the narrative style, that is in text citation. You can write this way, right? John 2001 revolutionized the field of trauma surgery, and then you can write this way. So more than two authors means et al, et and then al. So et al is actually a Latin phrase which means et alia, and which means all others. If you have more than two authors, you can write, for example, my paper, Rizwan et al. So it means that there are many other involved in that study. If there are only two, I can just finish it with this and in between. And then if I have written in a particular year, if some researcher has written in a particular year more than two papers, for example, so you can write that 205A and then 205B and then so on. So you can place the citations wherever appropriate, in or after the sentence. Both are acceptable. And the complete citation list at the end should be in the alphabetical order. And that is called the works cited and reference list, or works cited or reference list. But most of the time you might see that you're writing bibliography also. So the difference between, very slight difference between the reference list or works cited and the bibliography, because bibliography contains those papers or researches also which are not the part of the main text. So bibliography may include the work not directly cited in the text, right? So all citations should be in the same format as the main text, And there is no, as I mentioned before, also official guide for Harvard style of referencing. You might see some university, they have their own way of putting something without the parenthesis in the reference list or something like that. But overall, if you see, it is same. I mean, in general, if you see, it is same. Some slight modification changes are there, so that you can always have. That's not a problem. And then it depends on the type of the journal, the type of the university, what exactly journal or university they demand. I'm very sorry, I'm taking a little more time. Anyway, so now it is about to finish. So Harvard referencing and parenthetical referencing looks like that. Journal reference, you see, author name, and then year, and then the title of the article title, and then journal in italic, and then you have the volume, and you have the issue, you have the page numbers, P dot, and then so many pages, and then digital object identifier. So that is there. So this is the way you refer Harvard referencing in journals, and this is the way you refer Harvard referencing in case of book. So you can revise the paper once you do everything is done, referencing is done, all your conclusion, everything is done. You can just evaluate, redraft. So revision involves evaluating your first draft, redrafting, editing, proofreading. Okay, so let's look more closely at actually what are these things. So it's fine. I mean, I'm not going more into, because it is now we are running out of time. I'm sorry for that. And then redrafting you can do, and then editing you can do. You can fix grammar, you can improve statement structures, and then some kind of ambiguities are there that you can remove. Redundancies, if something is repeated, that you can remove. So proofreading is very important here. Okay, so that you can do, as I mentioned, spelling errors, missing words, confused word ethics, and then punctuation and spacing errors are very common, which we keep seeing while reviewing the paper. I keep reviewing the papers, and I find quite often, they don't care for that. So no, it's not the correct way. So most of the papers are getting rejected, 2-3 times you need to review the papers because of these things, small things. And then it's also important to ensure that this, style consistency throughout the text. So avoid using variety of different fonts and, switch back and forth between American and British English. Some people, they are just mixing it together. Some researchers, sometimes they talk about American English, sometimes they talk about the British English. So don't mix that. Either be in American English or be in British English. So try to follow that consistency, right? And this is also important to make sure that your citations are properly formatted and according to the style of the journal, or what actually your university talks about the formatting part. So this is actually all from my side, but one thing I would say, because again, I understand that most of you are the beginners who are going to enter into research. So remember, don't forget to register with Google Scholar, register with ResearchGate, register with Scopus, get your ORCID ID, Open Research and Contributor ID. ORCID ID is very important. Sometimes there is a problem in the names. I mean, some Syed Muhammad Rizwan, I am there, and some other person is also Syed Muhammad Rizwan. So it is difficult for us to identify the authors by name, so repetition of the titles and all that. So ORCID, if you have, it is easy for you, for the people in the research world to identify you. And always put this ORCID ID in your all research papers. It is better. You just put your affiliation there, you put your ORCID ID also, once you get your ORCID ID. Share your paper with your peers, upload on social media, links based on the copyright permission. This will help you in getting the citations a little faster. Choose the top index journals. Don't just waste your work by sending in all third-class journals. Try to just, I don't have any right to call, low-level journal, but I'm sorry for that. But I'm saying that better you target the Scopus or Web of Science index journals to publish your work. And choose the known conferences. There are many conferences every other day. We keep listening. Conferences are getting, conducted by different universities and some nice resorts and nice mountain, area. So please, avoid that, because you don't want to waste your paper. You have worked for months together to come out with one paper. Don't waste it by sending that paper to all, not much indexed journals. So as I mentioned, there is no harm in getting your paper published, but focus on some top indexed journals like Scopus and Web of Science. And also for your information, the universities now, they are struggling to get the better ranking in the area. So when you talk about the ranking, that time your papers published in Scopus would contribute a lot, because those ranking organizations, they are using a Scopus database to collect the research outcome of a particular university. So that is how it is very useful for you to look for the journal publications, the proper journal. And thank you very much from my side, and all the best to all the new researchers and upcoming researchers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, sir. And we have covered a lot of important topics which are related to conclusion, interpretation, referencing, and different charts and graphs which are used. In fact, I was very much listening when you were telling about writing summary and conclusions, because several times even I face as a researcher and as a supervisor that scholars are not having clarity about writing conclusions especially. So I think there were so many things they should have read and they should have noted down from your session. We have few queries, sir. So I'm just mentioning one by one. The first question is, what are the best softwares which can be used for plotting for publications?
See, if you are talking about the scientific, Mintex and LaTeX is there, no, where you can just talk. Okay, you are talking about the graph.
Right.
Okay, graph, then I really feel that it is quite useful. Our programming software is worldwide being used, and our students are also using, and I have also used that. It is extremely well and good, and everything is very simple in that. And first of all, the most important thing is that it is free of cost. You don't have to buy the licenses like in SPSS. Very expensive software it is, SPSS. So you just download R and then use that.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, according to APA style, whether we have to write keywords in alphabet or not.
Which one? Sorry.
So according to APA style, whether we have to write keywords in alphabet or not. They are asking about writing keywords when we are using APA style.
Actually, when you are writing the keywords, it helps in getting your paper searched very fast. So if you really want your paper to be cited fast, because for example, if I want to search a particular paper, how will I search a paper? I will just type reliability, failure, repair, semi-Markov, this, that. So always it is better to write the keywords, and very strong keywords you should be able to select.
Okay. So that you increase the probability of
the probability of getting searched, your paper searched and citing.
Right. Thank you. So one more question. Can we put normality and homogeneity test result in the APA table? Normality and homogeneity test results in APA table.
Actually, APA styling is not talking about some kind of inside thing, what you are doing inside the paper. You understand? They are talking about the writing style and formatting. So when you are talking about the writing style, what you are doing inside the analysis, because you are putting these things in the analysis, you are not putting anywhere else. See, the title is clear and the citation is clear and the citation list is clear. In text referencing is clear. Inside that, what you are doing, they are not talking about that.
Right. Thank you, sir. So one more question. What symbols can be used for mode, skewness and kurtosis in APA? What symbols can be used for mode, skewness and kurtosis in APA style?
No, but those symbols are available. No, they can pick up from that online. It's available there. For APS style symbols, a list is there that they can just see and then they can put that. It's very simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have a last question. How to select graphs and tables according to the research papers and thesis to get the outcome in a proper manner?
So, Dr. Asma, it all depends on the type of the analysis which you are doing. For example, some analysis, they demand only graph. Then you can just put it in the graph and write one line of conclusion on that graph, right? Like many graphs we discussed. So most of the time I'm seeing when you're talking about, the graphical representation, most of the time I'm seeing these are the graphs which people are using in the paper. So I think these, unless you are going to the statistical inference part, if you are going to the statistical inference, then it's altogether a different story. But when you want to represent the graph, it depends, on the type of the data, what data, whether your data demands box plot or your data demands line graph or your data demands, so it all depends, and then just one line you write conclusion and finish it off.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. Now we come to the end of the session, and I take the opportunity to express the vote of thanks, especially to our guest speaker, Professor Rizwan sir, for sparing time. And this online mode has provided us a golden opportunity to hear you. Otherwise, it could have been a bit difficult. And I also extend my thanks to the organizing team, to the Dean of the Department, Professor A.K. Saxena sir, the Head of the Department, Professor Yeshayil sir, people who are working at the backstage, especially our faculty members, research scholars from the campus and outside the campus who have spared time. And we would be meeting again for the next session on Monday. Tomorrow is a holiday, so we don't have any session tomorrow. With this, once again, I thank you, sir, very much, because you have touched a lot of very critical points and nuances of writing in the end, that is conclusion and recommendation, because several times scholars, they miss those important things. And they are not able to identify the difference between writing summary and writing conclusions. So that has been pointed out in your session. And I really personally appreciate so many topics which have been covered. Thank you once again very much, sir. And we would look forward to have you again in more sessions of Quality Improvement Program. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye. Take care, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.